It is truly an honor to be here at the First Presbyterian Church here in Chanute this morning. I have to take this opportunity to tell you a little story about Mary back here. As some of you may know, she was a teacher for many years, and she happened to be my middle school math teacher. And she may remember this, but I remember it quite well, that she took a lot of students to math contests back in the day. And I happened to be one of those privileged students that she took to Coffeyville one year for a math contest. And I happened to do well enough one year to win an award. Do you remember this, Mary?
Oh, yes.
And so when it came time to give out the awards, the tests were over, the teachers had graded them all, I got second place in one of the contests. However, I was nowhere to be found. I was out on the playground playing basketball, and so Mary had to walk up and receive my award at the math contest. And I will never forget that. But it is truly a blessing to be here, to know that I have connections here with people at this church. When we were here 11 months ago, we shared with you kind of a dream and a vision that we had to start a nonprofit organization for serving people with spinal cord injuries. I know some of you were here and you heard me speak of that. And today I want you to know that with your encouragement and with your financial support, we were able to complete a lot of things over this last year. And so I'm going to kind of give you a little bit of a review, a little bit of a recap on what we have been able to accomplish. But I want you to know, first and foremost, that we truly appreciate the help that this church has given over the last year, because it has truly made a difference in a lot of ways. It's encouraged us and inspired us to take a lot of steps over this last year, and we're grateful for that. But with your help, we've been able to complete all the legal and accounting requirements that were necessary to set up a nonprofit organization. We've been able to set up a board of directors, open a bank account, create a fund to begin distributing funds to people with needs, and to create a website that we've been able to kind of use to promote it as well. And so, first and foremost, my wife and I want to say thank you, because you guys have been such a big part of a dream that we had, that we had been talking about for a long time, and it's been a joy for us to see it kind of come into fruition in this last year, and for us to be able to begin operating and be able to serve other people in this capacity. For those of you that may not have been here a year ago, or for those of you who may not remember what happened 11 months ago, which if you're like me, sometimes I need a little bit of a recap. My grandpa, when he was still alive, Grandpa Olson, he used to say that to be a good speaker, you had to have a good memory, and hope that those people that you're speaking to don't have such a good memory, because you may repeat some things from time to time. And I didn't think I'd ever need that information when he told me that, but here I am, traveling around speaking now, and I find that some of the things that I've learned from my parents and grandparents that I didn't think I'd ever need to know have actually came in to be pretty handy at times. But the Live With It Foundation is a nonprofit organization that we formed to improve the quality of life for individuals, families, and caregivers who have been impacted by paralysis or spinal cord injury. And as you may know, spinal cord injury often results in significant lifestyle changes including the need for caregiving and adaptive equipment. Many times spinal cord injuries can lead to very big role changes for people in their lives and create financial and social challenges. Accompanied with that are also usually big spiritual challenges, mental and emotional challenges. Yet despite the challenges, I know that many who have been faced with spinal cord injuries have gone on to have careers and marriages and children. They've gone on to make a positive influence in their community. And I know that many of you know my personal hero, Mike Sutcliffe, has been a great example of someone who has faced spinal cord injury and gone on to do great things with his life. How many of you remember the commercial back in the day, "If I Could Be Like Mike"? Nathan, I knew you'd remember that one. Michael Jordan, man, as a kid I wanted to be like Michael Jordan, but when I became paralyzed, Mike Sutcliffe was one of the first people to come to the hospital and kind of walk me through what it was like to be paralyzed and to let me know that it was going to be okay. And as time went by, I thought, I want to be like Mike. He's a guy who just, in the face of adversity, he did the best that he could with what he had for a long time. And it's made a huge impact in my life. And so, despite the unwanted circumstances that people like Mike and myself face, I believe that we are called to do what we can with what we have, where we are, that God still has a purpose for us. And I believe the same thing is true for each and every one of us, despite whatever circumstances might be in our lives that we wish that we could change that we can't. I believe that if we're still breathing, God still has a purpose for us. And our organization, while the main focus may be to serve those with spinal cord injuries, our goal is also to encourage and inspire all individuals to find a way to learn to live with the unwanted circumstances in their lives. Over the past year, we've worked with some board of directors, one of which is my brother here, Brett, is here this morning, and we've come up with some goals. And one of our main goals is to be a charitable goal to set up a resource or a fund for people with spinal cord injuries to help them meet needs that they might not be able to afford otherwise. Your church made the very first donation to our organization last fall. In April, we had our first official fundraiser. There was a young man in Oswego who just graduated from high school not too long ago, and one of his first classes that he took in college required him to set up and organize a fundraiser for a nonprofit organization, and he chose our organization. And so, many others have chosen to donate after you guys done so, and we are a little over halfway of reaching our goal of raising $100,000 in the first year. And we have been able to contribute to a couple people who have spinal cord injuries, and I'll tell you about those two people more here in just a little bit. Aside from our charitable goal, we set some educational goals to teach people about spinal cord injury, to teach people about its causes, its effects, and we hope that through education will lead to prevention and also to increase support for those whose lives have been affected by spinal cord injury. This spring, my wife and I have been able to travel to several schools. We've done some school assemblies, as well as visited individual classrooms to talk to people, young people, about the importance of making good choices. As you may be aware of, the best cure for spinal cord injury is prevention. So we believe that if we can help young people learn to think about the consequences of their choices, that in many ways and many times spinal cord injuries can just be prevented before they even happen. But we also know and understand that it's important to let people know of the needs, because once they become aware of needs of people with spinal cord injuries, then we believe they're more likely to reach out to people with injuries and find out how they can help. So we have our educational goal, a charitable goal, and an inspirational goal to encourage and inspire all individuals to live with the unwanted circumstances that they may have in their life. And this spring, as I said, we've traveled to many schools and churches to share our story. And one of the ways that we feel like we are fulfilling the inspirational goal is to go and to speak, but also to give out books. We've been able to give out well over 100 books to people at schools, churches, and even schools we found are very receptive to us leaving copies of our book in their libraries for the kids to check out. We've been able to connect with members or others with spinal cord injuries, as well as organizations who serve people with spinal cord injuries and also are wanting to help people in this particular situation. And so we believe that, over the course of this last year, we have been able to do some things to help reach these goals. And we hope that over the course of this next upcoming year, we are able to continue to do the work that we have started. I want to give you a couple statistics and talk a little bit specifically about two people that we've been able to help over this last year. According to the National Spinal Cord Injury Statistical Center, every year approximately 18,000 people in America acquire a traumatic spinal cord injury. Now, of those, 79% are men. Now, I talk about this when I go to schools, and I give the kids an opportunity to tell me why they think that almost 80% of people who suffer from some type of a spinal cord injury are men. How do you think you would answer that question? Why is it that there are more men?
Women are smarter.
Women are smarter. You know what? That's the exact the answer that I normally get from high school students. And I respond by saying, well, it's not necessarily that they're smarter, but they do take a little bit more time to think about the consequences of decisions that they are making. And to be honest, I guess probably at that age they are a little smarter than us guys. Ironically, though, the first two people that we've been able to help in our organization have been women. And one was a young lady who many of you may know. Her name was Josie Martis. She was from Yates Center. She was in an automobile accident when she was in high school. She's been paralyzed for 25 years or more, I think. She's gone on to do very well despite her limitations, and she needed a piece of equipment to help her lock into her van. When she gets in her vehicle, she is able to drive independently by the use of hand controls, but she can't really lean down and strap herself in when she gets in the vehicle, so she has to have a special piece of equipment that mounts on the bottom of her wheelchair, and another piece of equipment that looks kind of like a trailer hitch when that mounts on the bottom of her vehicle, and then so that when she drives into her vehicle, she can pull right up to the steering wheel, and it automatically locks her in, so that she doesn't move around while she's driving down the road. And so she needed help, got a new wheelchair, had to get some new pieces to make it all work together right for her, and so we were able to help her get that with the first donation that you guys had made. And I just happened to be talking to her on Facebook, checking in with her to see how she was doing, and she mentioned that she needed that. Didn't even know about the fact that we were starting this organization, and so it all just kind of fell into place to where we were able to help her, and so we were very excited about helping Josie. The second woman that we were able to help, it was very recent, just in April, right after we had done our first fundraiser. We had heard of a woman in Frontenac, Kansas, who fell through the attic of her garage, and it immediately paralyzed her from the waist down. There was nobody out there with her when it happened, and so she was able to crawl, kind of do an army crawl, all the way back to the house to get help from her husband. But she fell through, paralyzed her from the waist down, and she went to Craig Hospital in Denver, Colorado, which, if any of you know what that is, it's a hospital that specializes in spinal cord injury, and I highly recommend, if you ever know of anybody that goes through a spinal cord injury, that you recommend that they go to this hospital. It's a great place. They teach you how to be independent and to be able to survive and do your best, and it's just a wonderful, wonderful place if you have to be there. But she went there. She just got to come home. I think it was last weekend, and my wife and I got to help go over and meet her husband and her son. But she had quite a struggle at first, as you might imagine, and her family missed a lot of work. They traveled back and forth to the hospital to see her on multiple occasions, and so initially we were able to help with some of those expenses that her family incurred, going back and forth to see her and be there to support her. And then we were able to come back a little bit later and help with another donation in order to help her husband and her son do some of the work that needed to be done in their home to make it more accessible for her. They put in a ramp and had to modify the bathroom so that she would be able to access it. And so, you know, I tell the two stories of Josie and this other woman. Her name is Jennifer. You might keep them both in your prayers. Jennifer right now is just getting, you know, kind of used to her new lifestyle, and it's a big adjustment for her and for her husband and her family. She has kids and grandkids, and so I ask that you keep the family of Jennifer Johnson in your prayers, because not only do they need, you know, to know that people are there to support them financially, but they also need to know that people are praying for them. And so I would like to be able to let them know, you know, that there are people out there who do care and that are praying for them. But we were able to help these two families, and we were really excited about the opportunity to meet them and to let them know that we were here for them. And like I said, you guys have been a big part of us being able to do that. As I look forward into the future, and as we move forward into the second year of operation, we hope to build upon what we have accomplished in this first year and continue to fulfill our mission and work towards our goals. We believe that by loving others, that we are serving God. And we believe that by sharing His love with those who need it, that we are doing what God has called us to do. As I think about the upcoming year, I want to build this upcoming year upon two things, and that is by sharing grace and sharing truth to those that we come in contact with and those that we reach out to. Why do I choose grace and truth? Well, I'm glad you asked. I want to share that with you. John chapter 1 has been an important scripture for me ever since I was very young. I remember Gloria Peffley at the Faith Bible Church used to have us memorize a good part of the first chapter of John. I want to read some of it to you. Could you move my paper over, please? Many of you may know some of this, but I want to read it again regardless, because it is so profound and so important that we hear the Word of God and get it into our hearts and minds. In the beginning was the Word, and the Word was with God, and the Word was God. He was with God in the beginning. Through Him all things were made, and without Him nothing was made that has been made. In Him was life, and that life was the light of all mankind. The true light that shines in the darkness, and the darkness has not overcome it. There was a man sent from God whose name was John. He came as a witness to testify concerning that light, so that through him all might believe. He himself was not the light, but he came only as a witness to the light. The true light that gives light to everyone was coming into the world. He was in the world, and though the world was made through him, the world did not recognize him. He came to his own, but his own did not receive him. Yet to all who did receive him, to those who believed in his name, he gave the right to become children of God, children born not of natural descent, nor of human decision, or a husband's will, but born of God. The Word became flesh and made his dwelling among us, and we have seen his glory, the glory of the one and only, who came from the Father, full of grace and full of truth. When Christ came into the world, the scripture tells us that the very one who is responsible for creating you and I came to live among us. And it says very specifically that he was full of grace and full of truth. You know, I believe that you and I as Christians are called to be like Christ. And John mentions that he was full of grace and full of truth. And I believe you and I should be full of grace and full of truth, so that we might be ready to share grace and share truth with the world, with the people that we come into contact with. We know what grace is. It's undeserved favor. It's unmerited favor. We don't deserve God's love, but he gives it to us anyway. Often we are called to give love to people who may not deserve it. It's not our job to question whether they deserve our love or not. It's just our job to share the love that we've been given and to share it freely with others. Well, what about truth? Well, it's our job also to share the words that God has given us with others. Words of hope, words of encouragement. In John chapter 17, before Jesus went to the cross, he prayed these words. He said, I have revealed you to those you have given me out of the world. They were yours, you gave them to me, and they have obeyed your word. Now they know that everything you have given me comes from you. For I gave them the words that you gave me, and they accepted them. I wonder, have you thought about the fact that God, the Father, gave words to Jesus to share with his disciples, to share with the world, to share with us. And then they were to take those words and to share them with others. Words of encouragement, words of hope, words of truth. So when John says that Jesus was full of grace and full of truth, I want you to know and to realize this morning that the very things that Jesus was full of, he passed on to us so that we might pass them on to others. It is important that we remember that our job as Christians is to share what we have been given freely with a world that needs it. To share the love, the grace, and the truth that we have been given freely to the people that we come into contact with. We might not make a difference in the lives of everyone in this world, but we can make a difference in the lives of a few. And that's what we are striving to do, to make a difference in the lives of those that we come into contact with, those that we reach out to by sharing grace and sharing truth. It is my hope that we are able to continue to do that in this upcoming year through this organization. And it is my hope that you guys know how much of an impact that you have made on me and my wife and our organization by your love and your support, your grace, your contribution. And as we strive to reach out to those that we come into contact with over this next year, I want you guys to know how much it means to us, how much it means to those people that we reach out to. Because by doing so, as we reach out to love and to share grace and to share truth with them, to share words of encouragement, words of hope, financial gifts, we believe that we are doing what God has called us to do, fulfilling our purpose, fulfilling our calling, sharing grace, sharing truth. And so we just want to say thank you again, and we hope that you will be inspired to do the same in your own personal lives, to share what God has given you with the people around you. And with that, I'll close my message today and share with you just this one thought that's been in my mind to share today, and to remember to freely give what you have been given, because that's how God has loved us. Thank you for having me here this morning, and may God bless you, and may God bless the hearing of the word. Thank you.